friends, welcome back to Get Happy Be Fit. Today, we are going to talk about one of the most common questions I hear. It's one I was desperate to know the answer to for the majority of my life because I literally tried everything to lose weight and it was so discouraging. And that question is, what am I doing wrong? I've mentioned before that I have always exercised and been active. I had very, very long stretches of being extremely consistent with my diet. I worked with trainers and literally followed everything they told me to do, but could not see results beyond a few pounds or so. These trainers either didn't believe that I was actually doing what they said, or were absolutely stunned that I wasn't seeing any progress after months of following their plans. I pushed so hard in my workouts. I often worked out twice a day, along with taking dance classes multiple times a week. And I was a master at counting my calories from a very young age. I was literally doing everything quote unquote right from a general knowledge standpoint. But something was definitely wrong. I would be in tears so often because I just didn't know what I was doing wrong. Because of this, I often turned to disordered eating, intermittently starving myself, doing 14-day juice fasts. Once, I only allowed myself to eat asparagus and grapefruit for weeks. Doing these things, I would lose a small amount of weight, sometimes a little bit more than others, depending on how long I starved myself. But I always came back gaining more than I had lost in the first place. The things I was doing wrong, unknowingly, these were things I didn't realize I was doing wrong, were eating things I was allergic to, because I didn't know I was allergic to them, and overdoing cardio and staying in too low of a caloric deficit, then trying to go back to eating normally without realizing how much my metabolism had adapted to what I was doing. I was also desperate, and I mean completely and utterly desperate to lose weight. It consumed my life, which heightened my stress level. And the last thing I was doing wrong was hating my body and using exercise as a punishment. I thought I deserved the pain and discomfort of pushing myself so hard I passed out or threw up or injured myself. And there were some things physically that were holding me back that I was unaware of. And the first one I found was an autoimmune thyroid issue. They actually thought there might be a tumor on my pituitary gland because of how weird and rare the blood work results were. When that was treated, things got a little better, but not much. Then I was diagnosed with a heart condition that I was born with but didn't know I had. I had surgery to fix it and was able to push myself harder in workouts afterwards. But I still had really bad asthma that seemed to get worse over time, and it was very annoying. Shortly after all this, I started going to counseling to deal with my disordered eating and self-loathing because I saw a cycle that I was in and finally came to the realization that I needed to get out of it and I couldn't do it on my own. After working on the practically lifelong internal issues that built the narrative I was living out, I healed my relationship with food and began loving myself and my life exactly where I was. I started pursuing the things I wanted to do and I didn't let my weight or the way I looked hold me back. I continued with my consistent workouts because I enjoyed it, and I started eating more consciously. I was concentrating on health rather than weight loss for the first time in my life. In the midst of all this, I started having some very weird allergic reactions and increasingly painful menstrual cycles. So I went to a new doctor who found that I was allergic to dairy and eggs on an anaphylactic level, which had been causing my asthma and the weird allergic reactions I'd been having. And I had an extreme gluten intolerance as well as some mild reactions to almost 100 other foods. I also found out I had some really bad hormone imbalances, which honestly could have been caused or made a lot worse by my disordered eating in the past. Once I started treatment for my hormones and eliminated all of the foods I had reactions to, and then slowly reintroduced the ones I was mildly sensitive to, which I was able to add all of them back within a year, other than gluten, which my body still violently rejects, but eliminating the dairy and the eggs especially made my asthma go away, and my thyroid condition magically went into remission, and I haven't had a problem with it since. And without changing anything about my diet or my exercise, I started consistently losing weight. With my asthma gone and my heart fixed, I was able to push harder and harder with my workouts over time, which was so fun for me and just aided in the weight loss. I also never felt sick or lethargic after eating. It was the bomb. And for a long time, I thought everyone who struggled with their weight had to have the same problems I did, that everyone needed to get their hormones and food allergies and sensitivities checked, because I knew so many people who asked that same question, what am I doing wrong? They felt like they were doing everything right without seeing results, and I know how frustrating that is. But something I've found since becoming a personal trainer is that while possible, my story is not the norm. Most clients who think that losing weight is impossible for them or that they've tried everything and they're working so hard without seeing results are doing a few things wrong, usually unknowingly. One of the most common things I see people do wrong is not monitor their food intake, specifically with counting calories. A lot of people search for diets that say, eat these things, don't eat these things, and you'll lose weight, because they don't want to count calories. This happens a lot with diets like keto, but you cannot eat as much meat and fat as you want and still lose weight. Same thing with intermittent fasting. You can't just eat in a window and expect to lose weight unless it puts you in a caloric deficit. The only time these things work is if it causes you to be in a caloric deficit, which is much easier in the beginning when you're still trying to figure out combinations of what you can and can't eat within the diet. Then, when people who do these diets eat more and more of those same foods and find new recipes they like, they don't understand why they're no longer losing weight, and they think the problem is with their body, not with the diet. I found that a lot of people don't want to count calories specifically when they know they've eaten a lot, because there is a lot of shame attached to eating too much. And honestly, a lot of people want it to be something wrong with their body because they think that's an easy way out. When I told one of my friends who was overweight and had always struggled to lose about being diagnosed with my thyroid condition, she said, "Oh man, you're so lucky. I pray for something like that." I was like, WTF, girl, why would you want to have a condition that makes losing weight difficult? And the fact is that they want that to be the reason they can't lose weight so that they can keep doing what they're doing now and still lose weight. But that's not how it works. Losing weight will still take effort, and it takes being cognizant of what you're eating. The reality is, if you know how many calories you're eating and you eliminate that shame surrounding your current habits or slip-ups, you can usually tweak things just a bit or make some substitutions here and there to start seeing results. The most common experience I have is people saying they've worked so hard their whole life and always done everything right but never been able to get to their goal weight. Generally, they give up and eat what they want. They start the whole cycle over again with a new diet or fad and then give up again. When they start working with me and I have them log their calories every day, when they're consistent, 9 times out of 10, they start to see results. I also always have them weigh themselves every day to see the fluctuations that naturally happen with weight. We give the scale so much power, so we avoid it. But doing this every day allows them to see that they're slowly losing over time because they're monitoring it so closely instead of taking their weight once a week. When they see that they're losing even just 0.3 pounds week over week, they don't get discouraged because there's some sort of forward progress and they know it's not impossible. So weighing every day, taking that average at the end of the week, is very helpful, even if you're used to not wanting to weigh yourself. The last thing I'm going to talk about is having a lack of scientifically backed knowledge. There is a lot of false and very generalized information out there, not to mention tons of diets that claim to be the only answer to your weight loss issues. And people push pills saying you can eat what you want, just take this pill. And I saw someone on Facebook who said if you want to lose weight, the general rule of thumb is to eat 1,500 calories a day. None of this is true, but people will hear those things, try them, and if they don't lose weight, they think there is something physically wrong with them. You cannot generalize amounts of calories to eat or amounts of activity to do because everyone is different. Even people with the same height, weight, and age may need a different caloric goal because their metabolisms or activity levels could be very different. There is so much legitimate scientific knowledge out there, and it keeps getting better and better, but you have to go to sources that aren't trying to push a narrative or a specific diet or a single answer to all your problems. There are so many studies done in a biased and unreliable way that people can find anything that will support their narrative, and the general public doesn't know any better. The best option is to find professionals with degrees and doctorates who are unbiased and simply trying to find the most accurate and up-to-date information. The people I trust and like to follow are Lane Norton and Holly Baxter. They have a company called BioLane. And honestly, any of the trainers from BioLane are going to be a good resource. There's one named Noah David Lee, who I really respect and love following on Instagram. And honestly, anybody there is going to be great. Jeff Nippard is another person I trust. I am not a scientist. I don't have a PhD. Don't just listen to me. That rhymed. Listen to the experts who are only seeking the truth, not pushing a certain diet or agenda. All of these people I mentioned have YouTube channels and great Instagram accounts, so I highly recommend you check them out. And the truth of the matter is, losing weight isn't easy. It doesn't have to be extremely difficult. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy any of the foods you enjoy eating. It doesn't mean you can never have a rest day. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect. But you will feel hungry sometimes. You will have to hold off on eating treats that you love. You will have to practice more discipline in certain areas. You will have to make the healthy lifestyle a priority. You will have to plan ahead, and you will have to make those habits long-term in order to lose weight and keep it off. Something that keeps a lot of people from losing weight and keeping it off is thinking, I just have to stick to this for a little while until I get to the weight I want to be at, then I can go back to normal. But you can't go back to the same habits unless you want the same results. You have to change your lifestyle and kind of adopt this identity of someone who puts health and fitness high on the list. You have to reinvent yourself to a certain point so that you don't go back to the same habits and lifestyle, which is why you have to choose things that are sustainable for you specifically. Remember that none of this means you have to hate yourself to want to lose weight. You don't have to want to lose weight. If wanting to reach a fitness goal isn't worth the effort for you, that's okay. Be honest with yourself about that. Do things for health because you love your body, but be okay with not wanting to put in all of that effort to get to a certain size or fitness level. There is nothing wrong with that. The journey can be fun. It doesn't have to be miserable. And let me tell you, it is a lot more fun if you can find some love for your body now, even if it's just because you're grateful that it's keeping you here on earth with everyone you love, giving you the opportunity to enjoy life. If you're desperate to lose weight instead of excited to see change and reach a goal, it will be miserable. And chances are, A, you won't succeed because you expect perfection and you feel if you don't reach perfection, there's no point because you'll never get there. B, your weight loss will stall for a while, like everyone's does, and it will cause hopelessness to set in because you feel like your effort isn't making a difference. You'll feel emotional and stressed, and you'll be drawn to overeating for comfort. Then you'll experience that vicious cycle of self-loathing for overeating. Or you'll reach your goal weight by sheer force of will only to realize weight loss didn't really fix the self-loathing and hatred for your body, and you'll find something else you don't like about yourself that makes you think, when I change this thing about myself, I'll finally be happy. You have to work towards happy now. You have to choose happy now. So honestly look at what you're doing. What could you be doing wrong? Let it be a freeing and educational experience, because knowing there is hope is half of what creates sustainable weight loss. If you don't believe it's possible, you'll give up, so it won't be possible. But again, remember to deal with the internal as well as the external. You do not deserve to feel bad about yourself, no matter what your weight is or how hard it's been for you to stick to a program. You can make those changes even when you feel like you can't. Start with small steps and build on them over time. And if you don't want to make those changes, you're still worthy, lovable, and deserving of living a happy life. All right, that's all for today.